Hi, I'm Claire Baker and I'm here talking about facing challenges and how I've done that in my life with regards to physical challenges, personal challenges and professional challenges within the business I run in the fitness industry. I talked about visualization and how you can use that to overcome the challenge, how to get through that. Whether it's a physical, mental or professional challenge, visualizing your end result is quite a motivating way of achieving any goal. Tell me, are you on top of the world? How do you feel today? Did you feel good getting up this morning, coming here?
Yeah.
That's a good answer, isn't it? I was hoping you'd say that. Because basically, if not, why not? You know, we should feel good about what we're doing each and every day. So is there anything, I want to ask you, have a think, is there anything you've always wanted to do but think, I just couldn't do it? Is there something that, you know, every now and then it comes back into your mind and you think, I really want to do that, but...
Marathon.
You want to do a marathon? Wow, yes, amazing. I'm going to touch on that a little bit later on as it happens because I've done a couple of those. So you'll hear about that, but why not? Why not? What stops you? There is a lot of training, that is the truth. There is a lot of training. It takes up a lot of time. It is very tiring. I won't deny that. I can't deny that. We all know that. Yeah, but have you ever thought, is there a fear factor in anything that you want to do? Is there anything that stops you because you're fearful of the training maybe? Fearful of how it's going to make you feel? Yeah? Recently in July I was on holiday, I was in Cyprus, and I read this book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And off the back of reading that book, I did something else a little bit crazy. It made me feel much more positive. It made me feel all over again, I can do something again. I can do anything. So, many times in the past I've been on holiday and you see it on the beach, don't you? You see people parasailing. Yeah. And I thought, I've always wanted to do that, but oh my God, it looks really high. What if the rope slaps? You know, we must have all thought stuff like that. Let's be positive, you know. More people do it than not. Well, no, that's not the truth, is it? A lot of people do it. We'll say a lot of people do it, and they're still here to tell the story. So I did it. We did it in a tandem. I did it with a friend of mine, and we were up there, and I actually said to her, I think I'm shaking. And she went, yep, I can feel it through the rope. And at one point, so we're holding on like this. I should have brought a picture. We're holding on like this, and our legs are dangling out, and we're kind of strapped in. And she says to me, if you could just put your hands a bit lower because you're gripping quite hard and they're right by the clips. Okay. So, you know, but once I was up there, oh my God, it was so serene, so calm, so peaceful, and obviously the view is amazing. So what I'm trying to say to you, if there's something you want to do, there's always a way. It's not going to be easy, but you should always give it your best shot. So just think about this, you are not a failure if you do not make it. You are a success because you try. So let's all really try and give it our best shot. Now, in order to do these things, I often use a lot of visualization. Okay? So how do we face our fears? How do we face these challenges? I use visualization. Has anybody else done that? Yeah? Great quote there from Albert Einstein. It's more important than knowledge. Imagination, more important than knowledge. It opens us up to so much. So we have an imagination, let's use it. Be creative from our own internal mindset. Yeah. Many years ago, within my first job in the fitness industry, and I'll come on to it a bit later on, but I've been in the fitness industry for 18 years. The company I was working for at the time, Dragon's Health and Fitness, I don't even think they're around anymore. I think they were bought out a long time ago. But we went on this workshop and it was called Striving for Excellence. Some of the HODs at the time, because I then eventually went on to become fitness manager. And one thing that I took from that workshop that stays with me today, and it was probably about 15 years ago, this guy was talking a lot about visualization, about how we achieve things in life. If we can visualize getting there, if we can visualize the end result, if we can feel it, if we can see it, if we can be it, then it will happen. The journey, hey, yeah, that's a different story. We all know that. Many bumps in the road, but if it's still there in your mind, it's going to happen, right? That's what we've just got to hang on to. So what I'd like you to do is take a moment, think about what you want to achieve. Is it personal, professional? Is it changing something in your life? Is it something that you've always wanted to do? A bit like what I mentioned earlier. Think about that something. To do that, take a moment, and as you sit there, just relax. Close your eyes. Is anyone going to do that? Close your eyes. Now have this moment to think, visualise. What do you want to do? What is it you've always wanted to achieve that haven't to now? So have your moment with your eyes closed. Where are you? What are you wearing? In that moment, that visualization. Can you see it? Can you feel it? Who are you with? All part of you building that picture of achieving whatever it is you're thinking about. So open your eyes when you're ready and just hold on to that thought. Remember it. It's yours, yeah? It's there for the taking. So using visualization, that has helped me do many things. As Jacqueline says, I've done a few things that maybe not everybody would do. But maybe as we talk about some of them, you might think, actually, I might quite like to do that. And you can chat to me about that later if you like. Throughout that visualization, did that feel good? I can see some of you smiling. That's a good thing, right? Yeah. So remember, it may not be easy, but it will be worth it. And if you're smiling, it's a little smiley face. It must be worth it, yeah? So things I've done, some crazy stuff. The top one in the middle, if I'm honest, is probably the hardest thing out of all of those. And that may surprise some of you. That was the one in this country. So that was a 100-kilometre trail walker challenge. To give you a bit of an idea of how extreme that could have been, or was, not could have, it was. That was organised by the Gurkhas. Yeah, right, you know, didn't know that at the start, didn't really read all the information. Some friend says, oh, we're going to do this, do you want to join us? And I'm one of these people that often says yes and then thinks about it later. Probably why I'm here. Now, that was in July 2012, and I don't know if you remember, that particular year, that July was the wettest July of whenever. So it rained pretty much the whole month. So we started, I don't know if you know the area, Queen Elizabeth Country Park, all the way down to Brighton Racecourse, off-road. Clearly I'm not that tall. Yes, I've got heels on, but I'm not that tall. So we're walking through mud, boggy areas, and a lot of the time, mud up to my knees. And no word of a lie, that was about 27 hours on our feet. We didn't sleep. We did stop to eat every now and then. Tony, to the left of me, her brother kindly came along as a support in his car, found us at certain points with bacon sandwiches. Yay, that made it all worth it. So we did kind of stop every now and then for a 20-minute bacon sandwich and a hot chocolate. But by the end of that, think about a little small, fat chipolata. What was that? My little toes. No word of a lie. So 27 hours on your feet, and the feet did feel like they were beaten by a bat. So the last couple of hours, again, visualising getting to the end. Literally keeping in our mind that each step is taking us closer to the end. It's the only way through something like that. Also finding out not far in that my waterproof jacket wasn't waterproof, and I've never been so wet in my life, and it wasn't the coat I've got on. Somebody lent me that in the end. Now to the left of that picture, I'm running the marathon in Mallorca. What an excuse for a weekend away. We went on the Friday, came back on the Tuesday, the race was on the Sunday. That was really nice. It was October in Mallorca, but really quite sunny, sunbathing, apart from on the race day. You can't really tell in that picture, but it soon broke out with lots of wind, lots of rain. A couple of friends were with me, so isolated at the end of the race that one of the friends was allowed to come on their bike for the second half. You don't get that in a marathon in another city. You're going down a dual carriageway towards the airport, turning around along the seafront to come back, and you're getting blown to pieces. So that's an interesting situation. And then I've done London a few times as well, but I'm going to go into that a little bit more in a moment with the next slide. But these are some of the things that I've done. Mount Toubkal in Morocco, a couple of pictures of that, fire walking and Kilimanjaro. So moving on a little bit more about the marathons. 2005, the first marathon I did in London. Like many things, I go into them a bit naively and then worry about it later. Didn't particularly do a lot of long distance running that. 2005, I had youth on my side, so it was all right. I loved every minute of that. And I know people have said to me since, family and friends that were there, they were like, you just looked okay. So I finished that thinking, yay, I'm going to do this again. And then I think that was the beginning of all these crazy stuff. But the atmosphere there is electric. Seriously, if you've never been to the London Marathon, even as a spectator, I completely recommend it. It just brings everybody together. But the funny thing is, you're running along and you almost forget you've got your name on your vest because people are calling your name and you kind of think, oh, do I know you? And then you remember, which is, quite amusing really in my little brain as I'm going along trying to think, do I know that person? Where have I met that person? And then they're gone. So go up there, be a spectator, or just do it. If it's one thing in your life that you should do it, Hannah. With the right training, if it doesn't necessarily matter about time, who cares about that? It's the accomplishment of achieving. And that's what it's all about, isn't it, in life? What can we achieve? How can we push ourselves mentally, physically, to make us feel like we're actually moving forward in our life? Yeah. Kilimanjaro. Okay, again, for some reason, things get into my head that I've always wanted to do that. The journey for getting to that was quite strange for me. Some of you may know me. I can be quite clumsy. That trip got cancelled a couple of times because one thing, I fell over when I went running once and fractured my hand, so I couldn't use the walking poles. And then another thing, I got a stress fracture in my foot through kind of playing around with barefoot running just before. Eventually I went on the trip, December 2011. Flying back on Christmas Day is great. You don't need first class, business class. You've got a whole row to yourself to sleep. There's nobody on the plane. But however, the highest peak, 5,895 metres high, on top of the world, that's what we started with. That's my on top of the world, yeah? That is 6 kilometres up. We are in the clouds at the top. The views are sensational. Reaching the summit as the sun come up really does make you feel like you're on top of the world. But the things with that is, you kind of have to think, again, one foot in front of the other. Yeah? Each step takes you closer to the end. If this is something you've always thought about doing, maybe not as extreme as that, but any sort of climbing, again, I completely recommend doing it because people look at this and go, oh my God, that's really extreme. Yes, it's at altitude. My advice about altitude sickness or altitude training or anything like that, what I didn't think about it. Took it to the back of my mind because in this country, obviously we don't live at altitude. Yes, there are altitude training centres, I believe in central London and at some sports colleges that some top athletes use. But for the layperson, that may or may not be as available. We can't cope with that. Sorry, not that we can't cope with it. We can't deal with it from the point of view of, if it's out of our control, you don't know how you're going to react, then don't worry about it. So I didn't worry about that before I went. Yes, I took altitude sickness tablets, but I didn't use them. I was lucky I didn't need to. There were people on the trip that had done Everest the year before, did not get altitude sickness then, but did on this trip. So you just don't know. Your body reacts differently every time, and it's nothing to do with fitness. Some of the porters, some of the guides did say from their observation, bigger people, more muscly people, don't know why, just from their observation of people, tend to get it more. Then the people on our trip weren't like that, and they got it. So who knows? So didn't think about the altitude. What I was worried about was the cold. I don't like the cold. Who likes the cold? No. But I got talking to a few people before I went that I knew had done it, and there was something that stuck into my mind. One lady says to me, when she did it, and it was at a different time of year, on the summit night, they're going up, and the guide says to them, do not stop, it is that cold, you will die. And she tells me this, and I'm like, what the bloody hell am I doing? But that stuck in my mind. But again, we were fortunate on our trip. The coldest temperatures we experienced at the very top, that is the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, was probably about -2. Well, we can wake up in the winter and it's like that here. So we were hot. I was really hot in that picture. I was wearing a thermal vest, 2 or 3 base layers, a fleece, a down jacket, and that white top is the waterproof jacket that wasn't waterproof on that 100-kilometre challenge. Not that I'm bitter about the brand it was. I nearly said the brand. I shouldn't do that. Because it wasn't tested on Kilimanjaro. The weather we had that I was expecting was really bad. Didn't happen. So I wore it on that 100-kilometre challenge thinking it's going to save me from the cold and the wet, and it didn't. Which is quite funny, really. So Kilimanjaro, an amazing experience, quite emotional at the top. From our group, there was only myself and another guy that made it to the top. Basically, you get to a certain point, and if you've not got there by a certain period of time, the porters, the guides, don't let you go any further. Because as the sun comes up on the top of the mountain, because the summit night, you start about 11 p.m, in between 11 p.m. and 12 midnight. And if you get to the top as the sun is coming up like properly, the sun on the top of the mountain emits sulfur and it's poisonous. So the slower people, unfortunately, they don't let go past a certain point because you're not supposed to be at the top at that point as that's happening. So the guides, you have such an amazing support. Okay. From Kilimanjaro, then I've actually more recently done Mount Toubkal with a group of friends. Actually, that was this year, that was May. A slightly different challenge because since Kilimanjaro and doing this, I actually, a couple of years ago, suffered a back injury. So for me, this was a challenge to test my body again. The first day of that trip, I don't even know if some of the people on the trip knew that, I had pins and needles all down my left side from my sort of low back into my foot. But then kind of had to get my head around that and think, okay, let's get the right muscles working, and it was fine, we carried on. So 4,167 metres high, obviously not as high as Kilimanjaro. Could still be an issue with altitude. A few of us were concerned about that, but again, just deal with it, get on with it. We don't know what's going to happen, it's out of our control. Temperatures, I mean, the Moroccan heat, as we started, 30 to 40 degrees, then down to single figures and snow at the top. And you can't really see snow there, but there is snow around that area when we got to the top. And a few of us quite dramatically, oh, we made it. You know, so we've all had our pictures done in our little pose. Now, again, I can be quite clumsy. So when we first got there, minibus picks us up from the hotel, takes us to the start point. We get out the minibus. This is another thing about these challenges, the toilet situation. It's not great. But we don't need to go into detail, but some of us went off and found a bush. Walking back, who trips over? Into barbed wire, and I've still got a scar down my leg now. So that was all gashed open. We actually had a cardiac surgeon on our trip. He went into fixing mode. But we hadn't even started. And the guys must have thought, oh my God, we've got a right one here. And I think someone else did fall over on that day, or something else happened to one of the other ladies as well. So it was quite an interesting trip. The scariest part of that trip was coming down. We actually ended up skiing down the mountain with crampons on our boots. If you don't know if you know what they are, spiky things that go on the bottom of the shoes. Probably hard to describe in these shoes. And it did get to the stage where, even on the way up, I remember thinking, so there's no path. We're scrambling up a little bit. There's a lot of snow. How are we getting down? The same way. And then I kind of thought, don't think about it. Worry about it at the time. Don't think about it now. Let's just get up. Because you can't let that stay, that thought of thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen next? You can't really let that stay with you. Otherwise, you just freeze. And, you know, it did happen to a couple of people in the group. It was coming down. It was really scary. There were sheer drops of snow where you could have just gone, oh, bye. So basically, one of the people in the group did actually just stop and say, I'm not going any further. And we're like, oh.
I actually said, we're all going to die.
Yes, okay, it was Leslie. She did say that. She did say that. So we all stood around thinking, right, what do we do now then? And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, there's only one way down. So what is going to happen now? And again, the guides were amazing. You know, the guides stay with the people that need the support. There's enough guys to sort of one at the front, one at the back, and then there's another one, you know, they're there, they're brilliant. And obviously Leslie made it down. She's here to tell the story and be part of the story. But, you know, all of us out of our comfort zone. And I think going up was easy compared to coming down with a fear factor. But basically, you can do it. We did it. It's not unachievable. Oh, firewalking. That's a bit strange, isn't it? Why would you walk over fire? Has anyone done that? No. Chris, no. Whoa, no. But the good thing about that is over really quickly. It is over really quickly. Much more of a mental challenge than a physical challenge, because basically you've got to get your head around the hot feet, soles of the feet burning. No, it's not that bad. They're a bit black afterwards though. They are a bit, well, very black. The build-up was amazing. In some ways, it's actually a bit happy clapper-ish, but you kind of need it. It's appropriate. Very empowering. And that was for charity. A lot of these things have been for charity. I do support a charity, Cardiac Risk in the Young. So a lot of these things have been done for charity. But just remember one thing. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? So these things, it's not about what's going to be happening to you during, if it's not always a great experience to get to the end. It's more about getting to the end. So just hold that thought, getting to the end. So what have I learned from doing these things? Anything is possible. Believe you can and you will. Your body will do it if your mind allows. This is what stops us, don't you agree? Yeah. If it's out of your control, just let it go. And we can say that about anything in life, can't we? And about anyone. Yeah. Be your own inspiration. Do not compare yourself to anybody else. Try to be better than what you used to be, or even what you was yesterday. Try to always improve yourself. If you compare against anybody else, it's not comparable. It really isn't. You're just putting yourself down unnecessarily. Yeah. So here, this is me in the fitness industry. Jacqueline mentioned earlier, I don't know if you can see that. Some of us met Kelly Holmes recently. I'm a Pilates instructor. I also teach other classes like body pump, and I also teach people to be instructors. So I've been in the industry 18 years, done various roles. Okay, have learnt so much in that time. YBFIT Training, fitness industry training provider. We are about educating, supporting, inspiring and motivating people to be in the fitness industry. Okay. Now, I have learned so much since taking over this business. I took over this business in August 2012, okay, naively, because you know what? I don't know or didn't know anything about business, marketing, sales, anything. What the bloody hell was I thinking? An opportunity came. And talking to Chris earlier, a dream. And yeah, you're right, it was. An opportunity came and I took it. Maybe if I knew then what I know now, I may not have, but I'm so glad I did. Yeah. So what have I learnt? What have I learnt from taking on that challenge? It's okay not to be good at everything. You can ask for help. I ask for help. I've got people that I ask for help that are actually not in the fitness industry, but they're marketing experts. They know business, because that wasn't me and isn't really me, but it's kind of had to be me. Yeah? Learn every part of your business or whatever it is you're doing. You need to know what's going on. If you have a business partner, choose them wisely. The business throws surprises at you. You don't want it to be that person. Yeah? Unfortunately, initially that happened to me, and that was a massive learning curve. We were thrown together in August 2012 initially. It didn't work out. Now I'm running it by myself. So great term here, solopreneur. Doesn't that sound good? Work more on the business than in it. I was making that mistake. So the advice I was getting from someone about marketing and business, what was the first thing he said to me? You're not an admin person. Work on it. Yeah? So whatever it is you're doing, work on it to move it forward. Outsource things that can be done elsewhere. Okay? Trust your instincts. As women, do we not need to do that more? Yeah? So if you do outsource things that are not your strengths, think about what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. So with regards to strengths, what are you good at? What do you need to improve on, your weaknesses? What opportunities can you have to create your dream? Are there any threats to that? Are there anything there that can prevent you from doing that? All these things can be there for you to work out and help move your dream forward, just like I have. Remember, it can be overwhelming, but commit to what you're doing. It doesn't have to be business, but commit to it. Be consistent. Because that's exactly what I've had to do, and every now and then people stop me in my tracks and are like, oh my God, you need to step back. You're doing too much. You need a break. Or, but when you're in it, you just keep going, That's because you're committed, yeah? If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. It's okay that it takes time. I've had to learn that I'm not a patient person. Some people say that I am in a working environment, but people that really know me know that I'm not. And that's what I struggle with. It does take time. Be patient, okay? So what I want you to think about is, what will put you on top of your world? So go back to that visualization we did earlier. Is that what it will do? Is that what will put you on top of your world? Yeah? So again, close your eyes. Think about that visualization from earlier. Hold on to that thought. And just remember, anything is possible. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
I don't understand how firewalking actually works. How do you not get burnt doing it?
I think it's because it's so quick. You don't actually feel the temperature. Well, your feet get warm, but not burning. But it was surprising at the end when we all looked at our feet and they were black. But it's not the flame, it's the embers. Right. So that was probably a bit of a dramatic picture.
Right, so you know.
But that's me.
I'm pleased you've cleared that up.
Yeah, no, we wasn't walking through the flames. Sorry, I think the fire brigade might have had something to say about that, wouldn't they? Health and safety. Although St John's Ambulance were on standby. But yeah, it was burning embers. Yeah.
Is it more the psychology before you do that then?
Yes, definitely. It's the mindset. And I think that's what this is all about, the mindset of getting through whatever is challenging you in life. Definitely.
So what's your next challenge?
Well, we have spoke about the Yorkshire Peaks and the rest has been thrown around. So who knows?
When do you use your visualization? How do you use it?
Normally, just before the actual thing that's going to happen. For example, even driving down here today, getting up this morning and even last night, I was actually visualising, not doing this, but how I would feel afterwards. Knowing I was going to be talking earlier on in the day, I was visualising how I was going to feel in the break that we're about to have. Do you know what I mean? And after this. So I knew it would have been achieved. So I kind of visualised what it's going to feel like after it's happened. So that way I know it's happened and it's going to happen and it's going to be completed. If that makes sense.
How long did it take you to run through the embers?
Oh, the embers will probably say from here to that wall. So as long as it took to kind of, yeah.
Are you going to do it then, Mum?
Oh, you should. I think you got to do it with her though. Yeah, yeah,
And the marathon. The thing
yeah.
that's stuck in
I thought that's what she was going to say. Yeah. You got that in your mind now, haven't you? But you don't run through the flames. I just like that picture.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.